Okay, I'm going to be going over, excuse me, number 17 and 18 in this packet. So I'm going to flip over to those pages or those problems. Okay, so hopefully I would encourage you to look at number 16, those of you who were in class, and try to do it on your own before watching the video. See how much you can get done on your own. And then I would pause every couple of seconds or whatever just to see if you can do it on your own, and then you can play to see if you got it right and if your thinking process was right. Those of you that are just completely lost, I would encourage you to follow along, copy down, and listen to my explanations as I explain it, and then write that down, and then see if there are parts that you can do on your own. Okay, so number 17. Mary has a collection of nickels and quarters for a total value of $4.90. If she has 42 coins total, how many of each kind are there? So the first thing we need to do is circle the question. It says how many of each. So if it's asking how many, that means the number of them. And so of each kind, well, what kinds are there? There are nickels and quarters. So I'm going to use N to represent nickels, but oops, I did what some of you guys do. I need to write number of nickels. Don't just write nickels, because that can mean like other things as well. So number of nickels, and then Q can represent number of quarters. Now some of you are using X and Y, which is absolutely fine. So some of you put X equals number of nickels, Q equals number of, or Y equals number of quarters. That's fine. Just at the end, we should still get the same number of nickels and quarters. So we'll see how things go here. And then you look for totals. So 1 plus another equals a total, then another plus another equals a total. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get another pen. I'm going to have to do it in red, sorry. So so it's good to look at what totals we are given. That gives us an idea of what we put in the other blank. So Mary has a collection of nickels and quarters for a total value. There's that word total. Sometimes that word is used and not, but in this case that helps. So a total value of $4.90. Okay, that'll be one of my totals. And then if she has 42 coins total, interestingly, this question also uses the word total again here, 42 coins total. Okay, and that's the number of coins. So like we did on the last problem, I'm going to just remind you guys that this should be money, and then this should be number of coins, number of coins, number of coins. Well, we already said N represents the number of nickels, so we'll just put N there. And then Q. You wouldn't put it up here because, well, not just by themselves, because they represent just simply the number of those specific types of coins. So over here, we're going to actually put the value to them. So a nickel is worth 5 cents, and how does that look as a decimal? It's 0.05. Remember not to write 0.5 because that's 50 cents, okay? And then times however many nickels are in her collection. And then a quarter is worth 25 cents, which is 0.25 as a decimal, times however many quarters she has in her collection. So now at this point, there are a couple of ways to do this problem. Okay, it all depends on what you want to eliminate. A lot of you guys seem to like to eliminate the middle. You don't have to. Now I'm going to put a 1 here and 1 here so you can see. You can eliminate the Q's or the N's. It's up to you. Just to kind of switch things up, I'm going to find the N's first. Now, I think I'll do both ways so that those of you that want to eliminate the Q's, you can. If you want to eliminate the N's, you can. So I'll do both ways. Let me get a piece of paper so I can show you both ways. I'll do one way on here. So let's say I want to eliminate the N's. Then I'm going to need to multiply the bottom number. Because it's a 1, it'll be easy to multiply that to match this up here. So, because 1 is an easy number to change. So let's say I multiply this by a 0.05. But see, then that's not enough either, because even though it will turn this to a 0.05, it's still going to be positive, so we need to multiply by a negative version of it. Then I'm going to distribute, and then distribute. Okay? So, I'll need a calculator for that one, I believe. Okay, so let's see. I have, I'm going to rewrite the top without all the dollar signs. So I have 0.05N plus 0.25Q equals 4.90. And then on the bottom, negative 0.05 times 1 is just negative 0.05. And don't forget your n. But if you want to double check, it's 0.05 negative times 1. Okay, and then minus 0.05 q, because that's a q there, not a 9. Don't get that confused. Okay, times 1. Okay, so then negative 0.05 times 42, negative 0.05 negative times 42 is negative 2.1. Alright, now we are ready to eliminate, because if I circle these and circle these and circle these, then these eliminate, and then I can do 0.25 minus 0.05, 0.25 minus 0.05, or if you prefer to add a negative, you can. 0.25 plus 0.05 negative, it still gives you 0.2. And it's 0.2 q equals 4.9 minus 2.1. 4.9 minus 2.1 equals 2.8. Okay, and then you divide by negative 0.2, divide by negative 0.2, and I get q equals, now wait a minute, something's not right. Oh, I see where I messed up. This should be positive. I apologize about that. So I'm dividing and dividing. So 2.8 divided by 0.2 equals 14. So what did we just find? Well, if we go back to what q represents, the number of quarters, so we found that we got 14 quarters. Okay, now the next part is pretty easy, because if you know you have 42 coins total, then you can take 42 coins total and subtract out the 14 quarters, and that'll let you know how many nickels you have left. So 42 minus 14 equals 28. So you have 28 nickels. Now, that is absolutely fine to show its work. Another way is to substitute back in. So let's say we had, you want to put in, I'd like to put in this one right here. It looks less complicated. So I don't know how many nickels I have, but I know I have 14 quarters. So I put the q here, equals 42. And then if you, oops, that should be a box, and then circle and circle, subtract 14 from both sides, and you get n equals 42 minus, I don't want to mess this up, 28. So you should have 28 nickels. So, and since we wrote that there's 14 quarters and 28 nickels, then we're good to go. Okay, that is our answer. Now, as far as doing it the other way, let's say you're like, well, Ms. Hong, what if I wanted to eliminate the q's? All right, so I'm going to come back to this one. 0.05n plus 0.25q equals 4.90. That's my top equation. Well, it's still better to multiply the bottom equation by something. So I'm going to write 1n plus 1q equals 42, the original. Now I'm going to multiply the bottom this time by negative 0.25, so that when I get to here, it's going to change to negative 0.25. All right, but everything needs to change. So I'm going to rewrite the top equation equals 4.90, and then down here, if you multiply negative 0.25 times 1, it's negative 0.25, because anything multiplied by 1 is itself. And then negative 0.25 times 1q, negative 0.25q, and then negative 0.25 times 42, negative, okay, 0.25 negative times 42 equals negative 10.5. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So I'm ready to circle these. Did I circle last time? Yeah. And I'm going to eliminate the q's this time. See the difference here? Here we eliminated the n's, okay, because we multiplied through by negative 0.05, but in this scenario we eliminated the q's because we multiplied by negative 0.25, so that the q's will eliminate. Okay, so I'm going to do 0.05 minus 0.25. 0.05 minus 0.25 equals negative 0.2, 0.2 if you want. And then 4.9 minus 10.5 equals negative 5.6. Oh, and look what I did. I did what some of you do. I forgot to write my n. And divide by negative 0.2, divide by negative 0.2. So n equals, uh-oh, what happened? Let's see. Okay. divided by 0.2 negative equals 28. So I must have 28 nickels. All right. And then you can say, well, if I have 28 nickels, let's see, 42 total minus 28 nickels should give me how many quarters? So 42 minus 28 is 14 quarters. So that's one way to find your answer if you wanted to show work that way. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, look over here. We got 14 quarters and 28 nickels. It's just that with this method or this elimination, we got the quarters first and then found the nickels, whereas this one, we found the nickels first and then we find the quarters. So the other way to find the quarters and show your work is to substitute the 28 into n for one of these equations. I'm going to try substituting it into the bottom just because it looks less complicated. You can do it to the top too. Okay, in fact, let's try it to the top. So let's say we do it to the top, then you have 0.05 times the number of nickels, which is 28, plus 0.25q equals 4.90. Now I know some of you are like, why are you going to this equation? But follow along and see if, it's good for your brain to see what different methods. So 0.05 times 28 equals 1.4 plus 0.25q equals 4.9. So I'm going to circle in box, subtract 1.4 from both sides. So I'm left with 0.25q equals 4.9 minus 1.4. It's 3.5, which is like $3.50, divided by 0.25, which gives me 14 quarters. So that's another way to do it. Okay? If you substitute it back into the other one, it was a lot faster. So again, I would actually substitute back into the second equation. But these are just a few ways, and if you're like confused, go with the way that you did and just check your answer that way. All right, number 18. Number 18, I would say I'm going to just do it one way, and then if you do it a different way, you should still get the same answer as me, and don't be afraid to try it way different from me. All right, number 18. Rob has $1.65 in nickels and dimes. He has 25 coins in all. How many of each kind of coin are there? So how many of each kind? It's the same question. So what if I use X and Y this time? Okay, X represents the number of nickels. Okay, and Y represents the number of dimes. Now some of you are like, what? Why are you doing that? Well, some of you guys like to use X, so I'm gonna just give you that as a possibility. All right, we need totals. So blank plus blank equals blank. Totals go here. Rob has $1.65 in nickels and dimes. That's the dollar, and then he has 25 coins in all. So these are two different totals. You got $1.65 is one total. 25 coins is another. So number of not nickels and dimes goes here, so I'll put X plus Y equals 25. And then if X represents the number of nickels, 0.05 times that gives me the value of all the nickels in that for Rob, and then all the dimes, 0.10 times Y. Okay, now there's a 1 here invisibly, there's 1 there as well. Which one would you like to eliminate? Well, let's try eliminating Y this time. Okay, if you're eliminating the X, fine, you'll just find Y first, and then you'll find X, whereas me, I'll find X first, and then I'll find Y. So I'm going to, in order to get rid of that, I'm going to need to multiply by 0.10 so that it'll cancel with that. But you got to make sure all of these terms change. Okay, top equation stays the same. Now I would say those of you that are following along, why don't you pause, use your own calculator, multiply this out, and then unpause to see if you get it right. So I'm going to go ahead, negative 0.10 times 1 is negative 0.10, don't forget that point, that makes a difference. And then negative 0.10 times 1, negative 0.10y equals, okay, just to make sure, negative 0.1 times 25 equals negative 2.5. Alright, so these eliminate, and then let's do 0.05 minus 0.10 2.1, negative 0.05, negative 0.05x equals 1.65 minus 2.5 equals negative 0.85 divide, be careful with all these negatives, by 0.05 negative equals 17. What have I found? 17x, 17 nickels. Alright, and then I'm going to substitute that in, although some of you might be like, well, I'm just going to do 25 minus 17. Excellent, that's fine. Okay, but those of you that want to substitute in, I would put in the bottom equation, less work. 1x is just 17. 1 times 17 is 17, plus y equals 25. Box and circle, subtract, and that's equal to 8. And what is 8? 8 dimes. And there's my answer.